Hello, Terence. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hey, Ken. Great to be here, and hello to everyone. My name is Terence Chesire, and I am VP Outbound Product Management for Customer and Industry Workflows business area at ServiceNow.
Great. So I wanted to kind of go back in time a little bit and tell us a little bit about life before product management.
Certainly. I started out in information systems in undergrad, and a professor that I had in undergrad mentioned the Pareto rule of standard, like 80% of you are going to maintain what 20% of you create. And where I happened to go to school, we weren't so exposed to software, but the closest I got exposed to was implementation. So I actually started my life in systems implementation consulting at Deloitte, doing big ERP implementations. And I always had a curiosity. And the reason I chose the 20% is I always wanted to create. And as I was implementing, I found myself discussing with my colleagues, well, this could be better. Why does it work this way? And I was introduced to the concept of a product manager that I completely didn't realize there was. And went back to business school to round out my skill set from being purely technology. And I think I'd say technology adjacent, not quite a coder. I started out in CS and I realized I don't want to do data structures, but I wanted software that drove a business purpose, like calculating your profit or loss. And then I ended up actually coming back out of grad school and joining SAP, which is the consulting I'd done before, and leading a bunch of GTM projects and functions, as well as did a stint in corporate strategy. And that led me to product management. I finally earned the right to be a product manager, I think.
Thank you. So can you tell us a little bit about your role at ServiceNow and in your team?
Certainly. Outbound product management is I think, fairly distinct function at ServiceNow and has been at the outset since we started our business area and a number of other business units. I happen to be one of the founding product managers for one of our key products, customer service management. And the thesis from then through now is that at the pace that we wanted to go, there was just purely a capacity issue. Every time we were building something, we needed to inform and educate engineering, and engineering would tell us we need to provide sufficient clarity on what needs to be built. And by engineering, I mean user research and experience design and engineering and documentation. And then there was the rest of the go-to-market function who wanted to learn what we built and why it mattered. And that's what, since then, and it's grown quite a bit, of course, that's what we do in outbound product management, from thinking through the pricing and packaging, driving release readiness, delivering demo solutions with a point of view, managing the tech ecosystem. And for me personally, as a member of the leadership team, supporting the definition of our overall product strategy. And part of that is also helping with M&A and investments.
Compared to teams that have just an inbound product management team, you're getting a lot more sort of requests or requirements coming in. So in order to satisfy those requirements and delivery, is the sort of product and engineering teams, is there like a platform team that supports all these requests so that it's easy, or the applications teams can build the requirements, or is there I know there's a partner ecosystem as well. How do these product teams sort of work together to sort of deliver these requirements for these customers?
Excellent question. And you obviously have had a number of these conversations, and you're touching on areas that are always tough elements to work through and think through and figure out. I'll answer that for us at the decent scale that ServiceNow is at. These are mainly issues at larger scale, not super small. And you're right. We have a very powerful platform at ServiceNow. That's one of the reasons I joined, is we think it's our secret sauce that actually accelerates the ability for apps to be delivered much more quickly than other places, but beyond that, for customers to configure it. But once you add scale, then there's actually a large number of platform teams, a large number of app teams. And so there's a quite involved orchestrated process facilitated by actually our engineering operations and our product operations groups that ensure the trains are running and decision timelines are made. And we have a concept of dependencies so that that initial concept goes back to the app team, and then the app team realizes that while the platform may have something that supports it, if it could be enhanced, it would better support them, then it becomes a dependency on the platform team. And then there's a whole negotiation where the platform team says, I accept your dependency and I promise I'll deliver it by this date. And then it goes forward. For us in our product area, we've added a layer of complexity because we're now shipping industry products, and all our industry products are derived from horizontal products. So for us, there's actually 3 hops. There's the industry customer to an industry team, to the horizontal product team, to the platform team. So those are heavily inbound product manager driven processes. But like I mentioned before, facilitated through outbound because the route to market, the customer programs, whether it's the product advisory or early adoption and other types of programs, we structure the way the feedback comes in. The key part that you also alluded to at the end is tech partners. And I glossed over it, but a huge part of what I focus on is the not build part, the buy and partner part of it. So it's part of any overall product strategy is agreeing what you will build and what you don't build. And then distinguishing from that, okay, even if I'm not building, do I need to own it, or is it sufficient for a partner to deliver it? And if it's a partner delivering it, okay, I need to be fairly clear with the partner so that we deliver a coherent experience. And so as part of that requirements process, it comes out that we don't want to build it. Outbound would actually work with tech alliances to recruit a partner, to educate on what we will do, the APIs, when the delivery dates are for that functionality. In fact, I just got into a conversation with our tech alliances person. And then we can hopefully deliver simultaneously at the conclusion with both our shipped capability and the partner being alongside it. And for us, we have a whole certification process and store process so that we can assure our customers that it works exactly as we envision. And it always comes back to the vision, what we intended to do, bringing everyone along. And like I mentioned, scale. For me, I'm always thinking about scale, which is across lots of customers, across geographies, across a product portfolio, across a growing number of tech partners. We don't dilute what it is we're doing, the value we're bringing, and that feedback loop of, okay, what could be better?
So you just mentioned sort of all these different trains running at the same time. So you have a sort of product ops, and then there's also the roadmap aspect of, so where are all these trains going and at what time and when are you going to sort of reach your destination? Can you explain a little bit about how outbound product management works with in terms of like roadmaps as well as maybe some product ops if that's related?
Yeah, so there's a number of ops teams, as you can imagine. There's an engineering ops team, there's a technical program management, and then there's actually a product ops that supports us in those release readiness. So at the leadership level, we set a strategy every summer saying this is the direction we believe we will go every 3 years. I mean, for the next 3 years. And then out of that flows out for us as a team, we try to map out, okay, roughly what do we think we can achieve in the 12 months? And then it goes into release planning. So I'd say it's the strategy process is, a bottom up and top down where there's some broad elements and then lots of ideas coming up through PMs on what we can do. We synthesize everything. And then the outbound and inbound element on roadmap is inbound with engineering starts to set like what is achievable by a date. And we already create customer facing collateral that can convey that so that we can set those expectations for 3, 6, 9, 12 months. So that's outbound handshake is customer facing roadmap, and engineering facing roadmap is what inbound is doing. And then just work through that process the product gets delivered, right around engineering is kicking off, we start the process of getting ready for launch. First one is, okay, what's the pricing and packaging if relevant for this? And so there's a heavy outside in and inside out view of, okay, how do we capture value? And then a pretty systematic process, like I mentioned earlier, for a series of meetings with all these relevant teams, marketing, consulting, training, and so on, in parallel with dev, so that at release, it'll appear as though everything is simultaneously coming out, but it's actually been running in parallel, engineering in parallel, and release readiness in parallel, and tech partners, as I mentioned. So it's quite a bit of orchestration. At the core of all this is still the product. Like, what capability are we doing? Who does it benefit? And how does that get manifested?
Thank you. In terms of the market, so obviously Japan is an important market for you. Can you explain a little bit about how you sort of view Japan?
Certainly. As a company, we have always realized that Japan is a top market globally. One of the things that some internal analysis by our corporate strategy team showed is we were not executing to our potential in that market, especially when we benchmark ourselves with our peers or who our customers told were our peers. And to make it into brass tacks, it was sort of the amount of revenue that we were generating out of Japan far underperformed our competitors. And so there's a company-wide effort to invest in and show up in Japan. And to that point, within my own team, we are creating a role specifically for Japan. And like many other things, we have a thesis, we've hired for the role, but we know it'll get better over time. With this, all the things that I just outlined, how do we make sure product understands what is uniquely required to be successful in Japan, both from the roll-in and what's needed for features, but also just as critical for me, the rollout, the go-to-market, the pricing, the partners, the marketing. We don't do the marketing, but there's a marketing that's also being spun up, product marketing that's local specific to Japan. But how do we deliver the message correctly, impactfully to convey, once again, what we think it does and the value it'll give to you?
These sort of outbound product management teams, do they report to the local Japanese ServiceNow division, or do they report to you and your team?
Certainly, that's a great question. At this point, we feel fairly strongly that outbound is a product function, and we all report into the product, the business area general manager. And to that point, we think of Japan being a local remote employee representing HQ rather than being a local function, because it makes the entire product and all our processes much better. And we may lose that connection. Alongside with it, to what I mentioned earlier, we're also hiring not just a outbound product manager for Japan, but a product marketer and a product success. To what I mentioned earlier, we see that chain of how do we market, how do we transact, and how do we support a customer to be successful? And those three roles go back to the respective global teams or HQ teams, however you want to think of it, because this is supposed to solve it at the root, at the core of how we build product, market product, implement product, with an understanding and a local flavor, not decoupled and completely separated.
If you could kind of go back in time to a younger version of yourself, maybe either before you're a product manager or just when you're getting started, do you have any sort of advice to yourself?
I think for me, I have, you probably get a different answer if you talk to me a year from now, but at this stage, I keep coming back to problem definition, being super clear on what it is you're trying to solve. There's those quotes about Albert Einstein saying, spend 99% of the time on the problem and 1% the solution will be obvious. And and just bringing that mindset to everything. So both to the actual product, what you build, but then you start to realize there are these larger challenges you face, which is, okay, so you've built the right product. How should it be packaged? How does it play with other products in our portfolio? What do I need from the platform? And so you expand out, and being clear on what it is you're solving or what the expectations are helps you ask the right further questions in getting to a solution. Versus sometimes I think I'd be like, oh, I think I know the answer, and I'd jump right to the answer. But the worthwhile things worth doing, and I've been fortunate that I've had, one of the reasons I got in product management is to do new things, like I mentioned from the beginning. But more than anything, I also have been passionate about launching net new products, and I've had the chance to do that now a number of times. And to do something substantial takes sustained effort over a long period of time. And coming back to the problem you're solving and always testing against that is what'll keep you on your true north.
Terence, thank you for your time. Would you like to share any final thoughts with the audience in Japan?
Certainly. I've got a couple of thoughts. The first one is a little selfish, which is I joined ServiceNow originally, because I actually left once, about 7 years ago now. And the reason I joined is the platform. And I keep coming back to that, which is as you learn more about it, please learn a little bit more about it, but it gets me energized, whether it's as a product person or someone in the ecosystem, and it'll help me achieve my goal of at least spreading the word in Japan. The second one is more for you. Do look into and explore this growing domain of outbound product management. I'm learning and understanding more and more organizations who are adopting it. At ServiceNow, we formalized it into a full career path with progression. One of the things I didn't get to cover earlier is we actually have plans to start to hire early in career outbound product managers and grow, or product analysts, and grow them through. And so I personally think it'll become one more meaningful model of how to be product management, especially in a high growth organization that's trying to scale fairly rapidly. We've seen tremendous value as a company, and I've seen tremendous success personally from this role.
Great. Thank you again for your time, Terence. And I hope to meet you in person soon.